Hello, and thank you for listening to another episode of Do You Really Know God? This episode, we're changing up a little bit. We're going to do this episode basically covering a lot on John the Baptist. Because my opinion is John the Baptist was a very big role in the coming of Christ. And he gets a little credit for it, but he doesn't get enough credit, and people don't know enough about the background of John the Baptist and the going forth of John the Baptist. I'm going to start by reading Luke 1:11 through 17. Then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense. When Zechariah saw him, he was startled, and he gripped with fear. But the angel said to him, "Do not be afraid, Zechariah. Your prayers have been heard. Your wife Elizabeth will bear you a son, and you will call him John. He will be a joy and delight to you, and many will rejoice because of his birth. For he will be great in the sight of the Lord. He is never to take wine or other fermented drinks, and he will be filled with the Holy Spirit even before he is born. He will bring back many of the people of Israel to the Lord their God, and he will go on before the Lord in the spirit and power of Elijah, to turn the hearts of the parents to the children, and to disobedient to the wisdom of the righteous, to make ready a people prepared for the Lord."
So, one thing I want to clear up is last week when we did the episode about young Jesus, you mentioned Elijah was his father. But what this is saying, it's Zechariah.
I mentioned Elijah was whose father?
John the Baptist.
No, I thought it was Elijah, but it wasn't. No.
Okay.
Zechariah is John the Baptist.
And Elijah was just kind of like some type of mentor or something?
Yes.
Gotcha.
Well, Elijah is, Elijah, I think, Elijah, let me think about this. I don't remember saying Elijah was his father.
Yeah, you were talking and you're saying how an angel came to Elijah and told him and his wife, but they were too old and whatnot.
Oh, no. That's Zechariah. That wasn't on the podcast. That's what I was telling you the other day.
Oh, was it?
That wasn't on the podcast. But,
okay.
No, because we didn't talk about John the Baptist.
We did a little bit.
Well, not about his birth.
Not in depth, yeah.
Zechariah is John the Baptist. I made a mistake. I was saying Elijah the other day. And Elizabeth was his mother. Now, the thing is, says right in here, and here's what we talking about Elijah. This is on John 1:5. In the time of Herod, king of Judah, there was a priest named Zechariah, who belonged to the priestly division of Elijah. His wife, Elizabeth, was also descendant of Aaron. Both of them were righteous in the sight of God, observing all the Lord's commands and decrees blamelessly, but they were childless because Elizabeth was not able to conceive. So basically, they went their whole life not able to conceive, and they basically came to terms of not having a child. And at this point of when John the Baptist was actually was given to him, they were old. You're talking probably in the 60, 70 years old range. So that's why when the angel told Zechariah, "Hey, we heard your prayers and we're going to give you your wish," and he's kind of like, "Dude, you're kind of way late. We're old now."
Yeah.
But here's one other thing I want to cover about John the Baptist is people don't realize this, but everybody knows that an angel came down to Mary and said, "You're gonna have a baby, and it's gonna be God's baby. You're gonna name him Jesus." So everybody knows that story, but they don't know the story that an angel came down to Zachariah and Elizabeth, saying, "Hey, you're gonna have a baby, and you're gonna name him John." So basically, they were told, just like Mary and Joseph, that they're going to be having a baby. But the difference is they said that he's going to be righteous, and he's basically going to be setting people up for the Messiah. Now, with that being said, Jesus was the Messiah, and Mary and Joseph were told he was the Messiah.
Yeah.
With John the Baptist was now the Messiah, he's going to be a prophet, but he's going to lead the people to be prepared for the coming of Christ. Now, John the Baptist was only born a year or two ahead of Jesus. So they were like fairly close in the time frame of each other. And the whole thing that was set up with John the Baptist is the whole purpose was John the Baptist was supposed to be there basically baptizing people, that's why they call him John the Baptist,
Yep.
and educating them about the Lord. So basically what they're doing is he was trying to get as many people interested in the Lord and the Bible as possible and basically setting them up for when Jesus comes. And then he is also placed strategically by God in the right place to run into Jesus at the right time to baptize Jesus, which basically opened up for Jesus' last run. And to basically set the ball rolling of the whole sacrifice of the lamb.
Yeah.
So, but a lot of people don't know. Like, everybody thinks Jesus was Mary and Joseph were the only one that those angels came down to, which, if you read the Bible, Luke 1, it's not true, because he came down for John the Baptist.
Yeah.
Now, mind you, it even says in the Bible, Elizabeth was told about Jesus coming and about Mary and Joseph, and told about John the Baptist was leading the way for Jesus. And later on, when they were like, Jesus and John the Baptist were still kids, Elizabeth got in touch with Mary. They actually had a meeting and talked with each other.
Right.
Because basically those two knew about everything that was about to unfold, well, they just knew about what was coming up.
Right.
Now, mind you, Zachariah was a high priest. He was a priest of the church also. And,
aren't priests not allowed to be married or something?
no, that's only Catholic.
Oh.
Not in, basically in Jewish and Christians, they're allowed to be married.
Right.
Just not in Catholic. So basically, Zachariah was working in the church when the first angel came to him, and then the angel went to Elizabeth. Now, Elizabeth was the son of Aaron, which comes down from the side of David and what was his name? Abraham and David, and then there was Aaron, and then there was Elizabeth. So the whole family comes from the whole line of the leaders that were chasing
Right.
to free the Jewish,
And we're on God's side.
Yeah, and we're on God's. So there's a lot that goes on in there. So Elijah, what we are talking about that, basically Elijah was another he was a prophet that came before John the Baptist and came before Jesus and Zechariah.
Yeah.
So Zechariah was like a descendant down from Elijah. Elijah was not John the Baptist's father. We're going to read Luke 1:19. The angel said to him, I am Gabriel. I stand in the presence of God, and I have been sent to speak to you and to tell you the good news. And now you will be silent and not able to speak until the day this happens, because you did not believe my words, which will come true at the appointed time. So basically, that was an angel talking to Zechariah.
Yep, Zechariah.
He didn't believe the angel because, I mean, I can't say I much blame him. If I'm 70 years old and went through my whole life not able to have children, and you tell me at 70 years old I'm going to be having a kid now, I'm going to be like, what's wrong with you, dude? I'm a little bit old for this now.
I wonder, in the Bible, when it says an angel came to Mary,
yes,
it says the angel was surrounded by light.
Yep.
And all that type of stuff. Now, if that kind of angel came to me and said, hey, this is going to happen, I'm not going to doubt him.
No.
They could tell me whatever. But in this, the exact words are, then an angel of the Lord appeared to him, standing at the right side of the altar of incense.
Yeah. Well, what happened is Zechariah was in the church doing incense.
But I wonder if this was just like an angel possessing a normal person just walking up like, hey, yo, this is going to happen. Or if an angel surrounded by, like light and God's essence came down as well.
They didn't really get specific about that.
No, it just says an angel.
But then the angel turned around and told him, hey, you don't believe me, so this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
You can't speak anymore. I just took your voice box from you until it all goes down. So, mind you, when he comes out of church, and he's been in the church for quite a while, it says, in this chapter of Luke, because he's supposed to go in the church and cleanse it with incense.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to only take I think it's only supposed to take half hour to an hour. And while the priest is in there doing that, the people are outside praying. When the people are outside praying, it helps cleanse the church.
Right.
It's only supposed to be a half hour to an hour. Well, because the angel, he was in there for a while, it says. It doesn't say much, but I would imagine a lot more time than I should. So when he actually came out from talking to the angel, he couldn't speak because he didn't believe the angel. So people seeing the fear on his face and that he couldn't speak, they knew something big was going down.
Yeah.
They knew that this was not no normal cleansing, that something happened. So basically what happens is later on as they go through, now mind you, back in the day, especially then, you usually named your boys and your kids after somebody in your family or your ancestry. And that names got handed down. So usually if say if I'm the son of David, my name's probably gonna be David too.
Or your grandfather's
grandfather's name or something to that effect. When John the Baptist was actually born, the people around who basically helped Elizabeth deliver the baby looked at her and said, what are you gonna name him? And she said, John. And they're all looking at her are you crazy? What's going on? They're like, nobody in your family's named John. And she goes, his name's gonna be John. So they immediately run out to Zechariah, and they're like, Zechariah, she wants to name the baby John. Are you okay with this? Well, mind you, once the baby was born, that was the end term of his silence.
He's allowed to speak now, yeah.
So right away, when they came to him, now the baby's born, and they said, hey, what he's sitting there crazy? He's talking crazy. He wants to name this baby John. Who's John? And Zechariah, his first word spoke was, the baby's name will be John. And everybody's like, whoa, what's going on here? Why are we naming this kid John? You're Zechariah. You're descendant of Aaron.
Yeah.
What's going on? Why are we naming him John? There's no John in your bloodline. But that's what they did, is they named him John. So that's how John the Baptist was conceived and came about. So again, like Jesus, his family knew that he's special and knew basically where he had a pointed job to do.
Right.
A lot of people don't really know that about John the Baptist. A lot of people come to the thing that Mary was the only one that had that special angel that came and gave him the baby. Where, no, it's happened to several different people throughout the Bible where the angel came in and granted them a baby. Happened with Abraham too. Him and his wife wasn't allowed to have a child. For many years they tried and couldn't have a child. And once he did certain things that God approved of and did what God asked, God said, I will now grant you a child. Mm-hmm. And Abraham wound up having several different children.
Right.
So it's not uncommon in the Bible throughout the years where God would stop people from having children for whatever reason and then give them a child at a certain time for a certain reason.
Because we work on God's time, not our own.
Exactly. And it just so happened, like with John the Baptist, he was such a crucial part for the coming out of Jesus. John, if it wasn't for John the Baptist, the full, what I call the coming out for Jesus tour, would never have happened. Because Jesus would have never been baptized.
Right.
If it wasn't for John the Baptist.
Yep.
And if you read in the Bible, when Jesus was baptized and he came up, the skies opened and the Lord said, this is my son. He is going to lead you. Please listen and follow because he is the thing that's going to save you. So, if we didn't get baptized, the whole sky would never open.
Right.
You wouldn't have had God speaking in the sky.
Everyone would have thought he was fake.
Everybody would have thought he was fake.
Granted, a lot of people did, but, like, it would have been worse.
Yeah. Well, back then, a lot of people just... there's a lot of false prophets back then. And there still is today.
Yeah. But that's just how it goes, is...
We're going to talk about a good thing. Is what is your name? It's not an Osborne singer.
Karen Osborne?
Huh?
Karen Osborne?
No, it's not actually one of Ozzy Osbourne's people.
No.
She's a one-hit wonder. And she came out with a song this week back, I want to say in the mid-90s.
What's the name of the song?
Called What If God Was One of Us. It's not Osborne. I can't remember the exact first name. But in this song, it was kind of funny. I thought
Joan Osborne.
Joan Osborne, that's it. This song is a really good song, and I believe it or not, it ticked off a lot of church people, which to this day, I don't understand why people were so unhappy with the song.
Right.
Because all what the song talks about is, what if Jesus or God came back down today? Looking like us, acting like us, a slob like the rest of us today, would we believe him? What would we do? What would we call him? And the whole song is basically about if Jesus came today like he did back in earlier times. 1, would we believe him? 2, would we accept him? 3, what would the outcome be? And it's a really good song because to me, it makes you think. Because you gotta admit, well, as human nature, especially as time evolves and we go on, we're big skeptics. So even myself, if somebody came up to me right now and says, I'm Jesus Christ, I'm gonna be like, yeah, okay, buddy, prove it. Do you not agree with me?
I agree. The only thing, I was just reading some of the lyrics, and I think the only thing that people might get upset about, which to be fair, especially in recent years, people don't need a lot to get mad and upset about, but the chorus goes, part of the chorus goes, what if God was one of us, just a slob like one of us, just a stranger on the bus trying to make his way home?
Yeah.
And, as if you were a diehard Christian and God is perfect and all that type of stuff, I guess I could see how that might be a little insulting, because in that sense, if you took it the wrong way.
Why would that be? Because you gotta look at it like this. When Jesus came in the original time, he was not a rich man.
Right.
He was poor descendant. He hung around with hookers, murderers, adulterers. So basically, you think about it, he hung around with the ghetto.
Yeah.
Going through life. So what that's saying is, what if he is a slob like the rest of us, basically ghetto-ish, like the rest of us, and he came down because that's what he was then. He is ghetto then too. He doesn't come down as the rich,
right,
well-dressed man. He comes down as the regular people.
I think especially for, it's leaning towards more of this in the Catholic belief, where, God makes no mistakes and everything. To pit him as just like us, we're humans, we make mistakes and all that type of stuff. Whereas some aspects of different religions look at him as he never made a single mistake, he never sinned. And I guess that's going against their beliefs.
Jesus, yes, he never sinned, but he did make mistakes. He made a lot of mistakes in life. A lot of it almost cost him his life prematurely because he kept doing miracles and stuff that he wasn't supposed to do. That's still a mistake. I mean, granted, he's a young kid and he didn't know better, but it's still a mistake.
It's a mistake, yeah.
And it almost cost where he almost got murdered long before the whole coming out tour.
Yeah.
Which would have thrown a big wrench in that gay work of God's plans.
Yeah.
So, granted, he had God on his side, kind of protecting him and kind of guiding him through to make him safe. But if he came back today, I would like to believe he ain't going to come back as a rich person again. He's going to come back again as a regular poor class person.
Working a 9 to 5.
Yep. In the regular poor community or whatever.
I like to think that when he comes back, I don't think he is going to come back like he did last time.
Well, he ain't gonna.
As a baby.
When he comes back next time, it says it right in the Bible. Now, first of all, when he comes back next time, that's the rapture.
Yeah, it's done.
So, believe it or not, it's time to freaking pick a side because it's done.
Right, get your stuff together.
So, but it says in the Bible, when he comes back for that next time, he's gonna speak in the clouds for all to hear all at the same time. So with that, you know he ain't gonna be man or human. He's basically gonna be like sticking his head into the clouds and saying, "Hey, listen up, boys. Here we come. You're all done. We gave you a chance, man. We're all done."
I think it'd be funny if God kind of like, you're just sitting here doing it every day, and next thing you know, you hear a knock coming from the sky, and he's like, "Anybody home? Is this a good time? Put your clothes on."
You decent in there?
And then everyone's just kind of standing up looking like, what's going on?
But, so, he ain't coming back in human form. By the way, the Bible makes it sound. Basically, he's going to be just a voice in the sky. So, John the Baptist, though, the other thing that I like to emphasize about him, we all know that Jesus spent 40 days in the wilderness, fasting.
Yep.
John the Baptist was raised in the wilderness. Once Zachariah and now you're gonna be saying Elijah nonstop. Zachariah and Elizabeth, once they actually had him and he started growing up, and once he got into his early teen years, they moved him to the wilderness so he can grow and learn, and they can teach him as much as possible, and he can stay righteous. After that, once he, I don't know exactly what age, probably I would guess between 16 to 18 back then, they pretty much ventured off to work or whatever. They didn't have to go to school like us today. It wasn't the same.
Right.
So that's when he ventured off to start telling the world about God and preaching the Bible and baptizing people. But even with him doing that, he actually still lived in the wilderness while he did that. So the wilderness was his home right to his death. So he stayed in the wilderness, which is where Jesus did his 40 days. John the Baptist also stayed very holy, very clean soul, because he's filled with the Holy Spirit pretty good.
You know what I like to think of? I like to think of John the Baptist. You said he was living in the wilderness and whatnot. And you were saying last episode how Jesus used to sleep in the wilderness and whatnot when he would go around looking for his disciples. I like to think that maybe one time they set up camp next to each other, didn't realize it. Like, oh, hey, how are you? I'm good, how are you? What's your name? John? Yours? Jesus? And they both said, they're like, we're not supposed to meet yet.
Crap!
And then they go like, am I moving or are you moving? Heads or tails?
That's funny. I know about that. Or you could see Jesus in the wilderness doing his fasting. All of a sudden John come back. Hey, want an apple? Oh, crap. You. Whoops. Never mind. I don't have no apples. No.
I was never here. I mean, obviously it's ridiculous, but I don't know. When I listen to stories like this and stuff like that, I like to think of the funny things that clearly didn't happen, but...
Wow. We can't say clearly didn't, because technically we did, so we don't really know.
But it's not, I don't know. If I was writing the Bible and I knew about something like that was happening, I'm definitely putting it in there. At least in the blooper version or something.
But you gotta think about this too, though. A lot of the New Testament is God's words and Jesus' words.
Right.
If that happened, you think Jesus is gonna tell the disciples to put that in the Bible? Because you know when he goes home to God, God's gonna ground him.
I don't know, I still think...
I told you to stay away from that kid, John!
Remember that video I showed you? Where it was the kid and it was a TikTok and he was acting like he was Jesus, God, and someone who just died. So he gets up, you look around and he sees all this beautiful stuff, and God comes up to him and is like, hey, I'm God, how are you, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, you're in heaven. He's like, wow, I'm in heaven? And he's talking to him, and then, I can't remember exactly how, but somehow they get on the subject of Jesus. Oh, he's like, ooh, does that mean I get to turn water into wine now too? And God just sits there confused. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, oh, Jesus was doing it all the time down there. And all of a sudden you see Jesus in the background, like giving him the shush finger. And he's like, keep it down. And then God turns around, Jesus! I told you weren't coming down there to do no party tricks. I don't know, I like to think of stuff like that. Like Jesus and John set up camp next to each other, and God's sitting up, the angels are sitting up there, everyone's running around, everyone like, no, this can't happen.
They're too close to each other, too close.
God wakes up in the morning, he's like, oh, good morning. And all the angels just sitting there like, oh boy, this isn't good. I don't know, I think that would be funny. A little off topic, but...
A little off topic. So, now John the Baptist, he went around, it is stated that he did so many baptisms where it doesn't say exactly he was, but my image by how many baptisms he did and what he did is he probably personally single-handedly did more Baptists than any other preacher.
Oh, I'm sure.
There. Because he used to go right into the lake. And here's the thing is about John the Baptist. He knew that God said, baptize all the people. To any way you can, just make sure there's a crowd. Because baptism is kind of like a marriage to God. So you need your crowd.
Right.
So he baptized people in lakes. And a lot of that was like a no-no back then, because you're supposed to do all holy things like baptism and that in the church. So he just did it out in the lake. So mind you, a lot of the Pharisees in Israel were not too impressed or happy with John the Baptist.
Well, I'm sure he had thousands of people lining up per day to get baptized.
Yeah, and he just stay in the water and just keep baptizing and baptizing and baptizing and baptizing. And it was said that the Pharisees actually caught wind of him and was really upset about it and was trying to get the Roman soldiers to arrest him for blasphemy. And the Roman soldiers are like, dude, he's just dunking people in water.
Yeah.
We're not getting involved. And they're like, no, you don't understand. That's a ritual that can only be held within by a holy priest, the highest priest in the church, and this, that, and the others. And the Roman soldiers are like, dude, we're not getting involved. What do you mean he burned us? He's out in the boonies. It's not like he's in the center of town causing a crowd. He's outside the city limits. He ain't hurting nobody. So that's what kept John the Baptist going so long. Then when John the Baptist and Jesus actually ran into each other for the first time, according to the Bible, was when John the Baptist was baptizing people and Jesus came down and walked right to the water to him. And right away, John the Baptist looked at him and said, got down on one knee and said, you're the Messiah. What brings you here? What can I do to you?
Well,
for you?
I'm just saying, with the first look, there's no way he knew unless he talked to him beforehand. Something's fishy.
Maybe Mary and Elizabeth talked and they told the other kid, hey, Jesus, you'll know what's going to go on when you run into John the Baptist. And then Elizabeth told John the Baptist, when you see this kid Jesus, you better get down on one knee. You better bow to him.
He's got scraggly hair, beard.
So, John the Baptist kneels down to Jesus and says, the Messiah, what can I do for you? And Jesus said, baptize me. John turned around and said, I am not worthy. And Jesus is like, you're baptizing all these other people. He goes, yes, but you're the Messiah. You are God. What gives me the right to baptize God's child? And Jesus said, right out, and this is what is a game changer, it says, anybody can baptize anybody so long as you baptized within God's name. And it's basically right. And that's when Jesus walked in the water and John the Baptist actually baptized him. And then he baptized him, and that's when God kind of opened up the skies and said, whoa, yes, finally, let's get this show on the road here. And that's when everybody knew. But here's the thing, is there was such a big crowd when this happened. Basically, that's when everybody pretty much knew about Jesus.
Officially.
But without Jesus officially going on, here's what I call his coming out tour. Because this is where he just...
Is there a real name in the Bible for it?
No.
No?
No. I just call it my going out tour. But, this was before he actually went and spent the 40 days in the wilderness for fasting. he actually got baptized first. And he got baptized, and that's when thousands of people seen the skies open up and God talk and all this. And obviously, like anything else, people gonna talk.
Yeah.
So they're going back to the villages saying, hey dude, I was at the river, John the Baptist, he baptized this one guy and all of a sudden the skies opened up and God was talking.
I feel like everyone within a decent mile radius would be able to hear that.
Probably. So a lot of people started hearing, and that's what actually made the Romans kind of focus on John the Baptist a little bit. Because now the Romans thought Jesus guy was dead. Years prior, several times they tried to kill him.
Mm-hmm.
And he never wanted him dead. But he went quiet for a while after his episodes in his early childhood. He went quiet for so long, so they thought he was actually dead, but here he is again, showing up again, causing miracles, healing lepers, and healing the blind. And now God comes out of the sky and says this. So they know that they have to go after John the Baptist. Now, they have to listen to the Pharisees, the Jewish Pharisees, because of the simple fact is, only way they're going to get to Jesus, they felt, was to get to John the Baptist. Because John the Baptist was not hiding from nobody.
Right.
He's out in the open in the water, baptizing people.
Right.
So they actually did, shortly after, it was within months of baptizing Jesus, is when the Roman soldiers actually captured John the Baptist. And I don't know the exact period of time, but they kept him caged up for quite a while and beat him and whipped him and really made his life very miserable to try and find out who this Jesus guy was. And John the Baptist the whole time kept to his story and said, he's the Messiah. He is here to save us. And Romans were they just don't want to hear that. But they tortured him, and finally they wound up I think they beheaded him. And ended him by beheading him.
Right.
I
can just picture them whipping him, and it's like, who's this Jesus guy? And he goes, I don't know, just some guy my mom told me about. Why do you keep whipping me? I mean, I don't know.
So
that takes some dedication, though.
That is full dedication. So basically, without John the Baptist baptizing Jesus, I don't think, because nobody else could have done the job, or probably would have done the job.
Right.
To baptize the Christ, to start everything in motion for the coming of the Lamb. The other thing is, the Romans, the reason why the Romans were so fearful, well, not the Romans, the Jewish were so fearful about the coming of the Christ. Some of the Jewish and the Romans were fearful because for some reason, even though they did not say anywhere in the Bible, it was thought amongst the people that when the Messiah came, he's going to be a great warrior. He was going to show up on a white horse with his armor, with his battle sword, unable to be beat. And what he was going to do is he's going to rid Israel of all the fakes, all the fake prophecies, and he's going to defeat all the oppressors. So all the other nations trying to oppress Israel, he's going to defeat them all, and because he's going to be this great warrior.
Well, in their defense, he did do a lot of that. He did get rid of all the fake prophets. Or, not necessarily get rid of them, he discredited them.
Yeah.
He did change the ways. He did defeat all his combatants.
But he did not do it by killing them one.
No, but I think one of the only things they got wrong about their prediction of him is instead of him riding in on a white horse and being this big warrior,
he rode in on a donkey.
Yeah, but before that, he came in and was born an infant. I don't know why I almost said orphan. Was born an infant in a manger.
Yep.
I think that's one of the biggest things that it got wrong. Because not how they thought he would, but he did do everything that they said.
Yeah, he did, but he did not do... Like
they were just thinking it was going to be like a slaughter.
But he did not come in, like, he did not defeat the Romans. He never fought the Romans.
Right.
He did not come in and he did not fight the Egyptians. He actually came in and he just did peaceful stuff. But he did not come in with a sword ready to fight and thing. And that's why, like, if you read in the Bible, when Jesus actually goes to Jerusalem, he rides in on a donkey.
Yeah.
And the whole point of that is because you kept hearing the stories of the Messiah coming in as this great knight on a white horse. So, I guess in a little bit of Jesus' humor is, I'm not going to go on a white horse because I ain't no great warrior. I ain't going in to fight, so I'm just going to drive in on a donkey.
I was going to say, at least we know Jesus has a sense of humor.
You got to think about it. There's going to be a sense of humor thing because he walked everywhere else. He could have just walked in. And instead, he went out and bought a donkey to drive in.
I don't know. I think there's a few parts I can't think off the top of my head. There's a few things that I've heard about the Bible and read in the Bible that maybe it's just today's society and the way we're being conditioned and stuff like that. But Jesus had to have had a sense of humor.
Oh,
with the stuff he did, because, like, I don't know, I've always liked to think in the Bible they make him sound so serious and like all that type of stuff, but I like to think he would sit there and crack a few jokes every once in a while.
Well, it's funny that you say that because I just spoke before you watched the series The Chosen.
Yeah.
There is actually a little tidbit in the scenes where they do make, when it's just him and the disciples, and he makes cracks of jokes about the disciples, and he laughs.
Right. That's what I like to think. I like to think, like, I obviously don't know what anyone looks like, but, like, let's say for Peter example, let's say he was a little on the chunkier side, and they're walking, and he goes, "Oh, Jesus, I'm tired." And he goes, "Well, maybe if you got up every once in a while when you were a kid."
Well, there's one part where what he did is, Simon's cousin, who was the first one to see Jesus.
Yeah.
Over Simon, I guess couldn't dance. And they went to that wedding. That's where Jesus turn the water into wine. And there's a song going on and all this, and then you get in and dance or whatever. And Jesus looked at him. Well, somebody said, "Oh, you guys come join. And Jesus went to go, and then Simon's cousin just stood there, and he goes, "Hey, you gonna come dance?" And Simon started laughing and said, "He can't dance, he has 2 left feet." And Jesus started laughing and says, 2 left feet? Looks like you got a left and a right to me. And he started making cracked a joke about it. And
right.
then a couple times throughout the series, he made a joke to him about his dancing.
I think my favorite joke, per se, in that series is when Jesus is at the well with the Somalian woman. And he sends the disciples off to go get food or something. And so he sits there, he has that little heart-to-heart with the Somalian woman, and she leaves.
And they say, "Hey, Jesus, we got food for you."
Yeah, all of a sudden they come back, and one of them, I can't remember which one was.
That was Simon. Simon says, "Hey, we got food for you."
Yeah, and then he goes, "Don't worry, I got all the food I need."
And now from Peter, you're like, "Who fed you?"
Yeah, he's like, "Who brought you food?" I was rolling when I saw that. I think that was the funniest thing.
But you gotta think about that, and think about if you're walking with Jesus as your disciple. Now you know that you got no food, right? So you know you gotta go to town to buy food. Now you gotta picture this, and I'm picturing this scenario. So you go into town, you get food, and this guy Jesus, you left him behind at the well.
Right.
And you come back and you're like, "Hey, we got food for you, man." And he's like, "Oh, I'm not hungry. I already got food." Thinking about what you think. this son of a bitch is hiding food on us.
Right.
Yeah, where the heck are you hiding food, man?
No, I just think.
So you're holding out. We're starving for the last 10 miles of walking, and you got food?
I just think it's funny because they're sitting there, like you said, they walked all the way to the town. Which, to be fair, the town wasn't very close by. It was a good couple miles away.
On foot, a hike.
And so they're walking there, come back, and you're sitting there, and you're like, he's kind of Jesus. We should probably bring him some food. And they're all like, I don't got too much money. Like, just get him food. He's Jesus. He needs food. So they're making a big deal about it. Come back. Come to find out, he had angel Postmates the whole time.
Angel Postmates.
I can just imagine them. They're walking back, and all of a sudden they see something fly up in the air. They're like, whoa, what was that? I wonder. Jesus is sitting there with some burger.
What, a freaking quarter pounder?
Yeah, it's just,
hey, what's up, guys?
But he sees them walk up, and he goes to hide it real quick, and then they come up, we got your food. He's like, I'm good.
No, I think more of, he's like, oh, I'm not hungry. I already got food. And they're like, this bastard told us. What the hell? We've been starving for the last 10 miles. You didn't tell us you had food, and then they all stop beating them up.
Right.
What the? Like, what did you think about that thing? You're starving like in a movie, and
yeah.
You got that one fat kid that has all that candy hidden in his jacket.
Yeah, you go and raid him. I don't know.
Oh my God.
One thing, and I think this is the biggest problem, and I'm one of those people where I can't read the Bible. Like, I know how to read. When I sit there and read the Bible, it doesn't interest me. And I think it's because they don't make it real life enough. Like, all the extra side jokes and all the stuff that ropes you into a TV show or to,
Well, that's the problem.
Something to that effect. It doesn't have that.
Today's society is roped all into what we want to think, where the Bible is factual things. It's just meant to be factual. It ain't meant to be funny. Ain't meant to, hey, let's do a joke here and there. It's meant to, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is what happened. Listen up, guys.
But it wouldn't hurt to,
They were not thinking about making you laugh then.
They're
trying to teach you about God.
It wouldn't hurt Jesus to throw in, even if it's as a little footnote, that story about when Peter got too drunk, slapped the donkey's butt, and got kicked in the face. You know what I mean? It wouldn't hurt.
Yeah, but you can't. We're not thinking that. They're thinking on getting a word out about God. So basically, with all that, John the Baptist lived quite the interesting life of holiness. So he was never. There was a while there where it is talked about where people actually thought, especially Jewish people, actually thought John the Baptist was actually the Christ. And there was a lot of followers and a lot of people thought he was the Christ, not Jesus. And then when Jesus came through and Jesus was the actual Christ. But here's one of the issues that happened. Even through all this, the Jewish religion do not believe and acknowledge Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
So, when Jesus was crucified, he said the temple would be taken down and destroyed. And it did. God made this earthquake that took down the temple. I don't know about you, but I don't care how stubborn I was about, dude, you ain't God. You ain't Jesus. No. We're followers of David and Moses. You ain't nothing, You're
right.
a young carpenter boy of Joseph, son of Joseph. And all of a sudden, you kill me, your temple's coming down. All of a sudden, you're like, okay, shut up, Joseph's kid. Put you up on the cross. All of a sudden, he dies. All of a sudden, like the church freaking caves in. I think I'd be like, guys, I think we done screwed up.
I can just imagine the Israelites sitting there. Jesus is like, I'm telling you, bad things are gonna happen. And they just got cell phone. They got Joseph on the cell phone, be like, hey, come get your kid, bro. He's over here talking about God and he's the Messiah and all this. And Joseph's in the background on the phone trying, hey guys, he's real. And all of a sudden they crucify him and the temple falls and they're just like, hey, there was an accident and he accidentally fell on a cross. He, we didn't do it, but I don't know. I think that'd be funny.
Bing. Hello, this is Jake from State Farm. How can I help you? Yeah, we kind of killed a guy and he said a curse and our temple fell in. Is that covered?
Just like, hey, temples are covered, right? Well, what happened? Did it flood? What happened? So, funny story. This guy, Jesus, said he was God. We didn't believe him, so naturally you kill him. You know how it goes. And, yeah, he was God. Is that covered? I just think it'd hang up.
I think we did a little bit too much joking on this episode. But we get you the point. Here's the point of this podcast. Like, somebody new listening or whatever.
We're usually not this crazy.
We're not usually, but you know what? It's funny to joke about it, because here's the thing. So long as you're learning about God and you're believing in God and following God, there's no problems having jokes about it.
Right.
Joke your way to learn. It don't matter. If you want to use it as jokes to make you remember and learn, there's no sin in that.
Yeah.
Do it. If that's going to help you learn, that's what makes it fun. Like me, I love learning more and more about God. I learn, every chance I get this Bible app that comes up and pops up with different stuff every single day. And I read them whenever they pop up. And there's been a couple times when it's like, whew, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't remember that verse. Where was that? And I grabbed my Bible. I said, yeah, okay, this is the internet. It's lying to me. And I grab my Bible and I look and find it. And it's like, oh, yeah, it does say it right there.
Well, one of the things, and when I was in basic, I actually reached people with the Bible a few times. Only because, like I said, I've never read the Bible through and through. I've tried multiple times, but I can't even get out of Genesis before I'm like, all right, this is boring. And so, one day, we're in basic, and we had everyone pretty much already graduated. We had 2 weeks to clean up our barracks, get all stuff ready for graduation and whatnot. So, we cleaned the barracks, and we had a little bit of free time, and the drill sergeants, we already pretty much graduated, so they weren't really messing with us too much. They were just letting us do our own thing and, whatever. So I pulled out a Bible, and I was on fire guard shift, and I had a few people sitting around me, and I started reading the Bible, and there was a few things that I read that I just couldn't believe. And like, there was this one story, for instance, it's, after Abraham goes to Sodom and Gomorrah and they destroy everything, Abraham's nephew, I believe it is, I can't remember his name, but and his 2 daughters are living in this cave.
Yep.
And I've told this story once before on the podcast, I believe. But pretty much what happens is their father's getting older and they're getting older and they still live in this cave, and they realize that they're never going to have a descendant of that family. So what they do is they go out to the city, they get some wine, and they trick their father into getting blackout drunk and sleeping with them. That way that he can impregnate them and they can continue the family.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget, I was reading the Bible and I had a kid by me who was very religious and liked the Bible, and I was reading it and I read that story and I slammed my Bible down. I looked over at him and I was like, what the heck? And he goes, what? And I was like, what is going on in the Bible? And I told him about the thing. And he goes, oh yeah, that type of stuff happens a few times in the Bible. And another person came over and they're like, what are you guys talking about? I was like, hold on, let me get this. I got this. And I told the story, and I just told it kind of in a funny voice and exaggerated some things. Like, pretty much how I did it. I was like, so there's this guy and two of his older daughters living in a cave, right? And so the sisters are sitting there and they're thinking, and they're like, we're not going to have any kids because we don't know any boys, we're not married, and our dad's getting pretty old. So we don't talk to people outside of here. The only way we're going to continue the family is through dad. So I got an idea. And so the older sister goes to the younger sister in private and goes, all right, this is what we're going to do. We're going to go to the town square tonight, and we're going to buy all the wine we can afford. We're going to come back. We're going to get him the good stuff, everything. And we're going to make him drink it after drink after drink after drink until he can barely stand, he can barely walk. We're going to have a rager up in here. And then when he's getting ready to go to sleep, we just go in and we seduce him and we get him to sleep with us. And then boom, we got babies. And so the younger sister's like, okay, but you got to do it first. So the older sister's like, all right, no problem. So they go down to town square, they get all the wine and, all the good stuff, and they come back and like, hey, Dad, let's have a party tonight. And he goes, yeah, I could use a party. And, they got the music pumping and the lights going and they're boom, 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 boom. And all of a sudden they're like, Dad, have another drink, have another drink, have another drink. And he's just like slamming shots back left and right. And then he's like, all right, guys, I think that's enough. And so the older daughter goes up and she's like, well, why don't you come back to my bed? And he's like, okay. And so he goes and they do their thing and he wakes up the next morning. He's kind of like, what the heck just happened? And he's got a major hangover, and so he's walking around and they're like, hi, Dad. And he's like, hello. They give him some breakfast and they're like, let's have another party tonight. He's like, I don't know if I can handle it. Next thing you know, the music's pumping. Boom, 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 boom. He's knocking back shots again. And the younger daughter goes up to him and is like, well, why don't you come back to my bed? And he's like, okay. And then I just, and everyone, by the time I was finished the story, I had like half the platoon standing around me, just sitting there, dying laughing.
And they go, boot, boot.
Exactly.
Boot, boot.
About the way I'm explaining the Bible, because that's how I, get myself through listening to it. Or reading.
And there's nothing wrong with that. And that's one thing where I try and open up about this podcast. That's why we make mistakes on this podcast all the time.
Yes,
I mess up. I am bad with the English language, and I tend to mispronounce a lot of words, and sometimes I get names backwards or switched up or whatever. But the whole point is when you're teaching the Bible, one thing, like, you watch these churches, they get so serious into it, and they get so dead on to where you better know every word, 100% word for word. Bang, this is this. I like going to churches where the preacher will come out and say something out of the ordinary, make it funny, and kind of mess up a word and say, whoop, did I just do that? What? And just keep going.
Yeah.
It makes it interesting. Jesus never said, go to every land and teach the Bible and the Word of God to every living creature, but better not mess it up. He did not say that. He just says, teach it so they can know it.
And, I learned fairly early in my religious,
Coming out to her?
Yeah. I was going to say career, but my religious journey, there we go, that's a good word for it. That the preachers that are the most genuine and the ones that you really want to listen to are the ones who make jokes and make it fun. And, obviously there's degrees to it.
But you tend to learn more from them.
Yeah.
You gotta pay attention to somebody who's gonna keep your attention over some guy who just, no, you need to do this and you need to do that. No, you can't do this and you can't do that.
I had this one preacher who I talk a lot about is the Awakening Conference. That was kind of what jump-started my current run of religious beliefs. Because I went to church with Meme when I was, like kindergarten and stuff like that. But then once I got to about right around middle school, I stopped going for a couple years. And then my best friend Isaiah, we've had him as a guest on the podcast.
Yep.
he was going to this church in Rhode Island, which was not far from Connecticut, where we used to live. And they had their own group called Awakening. That's what they called their youth group. They had their own band and everything. And they had this thing called the Awakening Conference, which was 2 weekends. So you'd go one weekend and then you'd do school or whatever, because it was in April, I believe. So you go to school for the week and then you'd come back the next weekend. And they would have all kinds of guest speakers. If you listen to a lot of preachers, you've probably heard of them, some of them. There was Rich Wilkerson, John Gray. There's a few other ones, but the one I'm talking about, his name's Levi Lusko. And actually, he was telling us that the weekend before he went to the Awakening Conference, his infant baby died. And wow. So, yeah. And so he was a little emotional on stage, but nonetheless, God told him, you can't miss this conference. So we went, and with their band, they're more of a tradition, or not a traditional, kind of like Hillsong Young and Free.
New Wave.
Yeah, they're that kind of band, and they would have these beach balls they would throw into the crowd, and we'd all be hitting them around when we were doing worship, and they had confetti cannons going on. Well, this wasn't a huge, like, the ceiling wasn't very high, so the confetti would get stuck in the ceilings. And I remember, I'll never forget this, because we're sitting there, we're listening to his sermon and everything, and he pulls out his Bible and he starts reading, and and I can't remember what verse, but it started with, and God spoke. And all of a sudden, a confetti thing just fell from one of the beams. And he goes, God? Is that you? And he kind of made this little joke about it. But, those are the type of preachers you want to look for. Though there's all types of good preachers, the ones that get really emotional, like there's a few I know that, like, to the point of tears.
Pastor Tony.
Yeah, Pastor Tony's one of them. Pastor Dan gets like that sometimes too. But, there's pastors like that. There's pastors that try to make things more funny.
Yeah.
But there's also those pastors that just get up there and they're monotone.
Yeah.
And that was my ringtone. But anyway,
Devin just promoted his song on the podcast. But with that is you gotta make it kind of fun, because you gotta make it in a way that you can understand it, and that's gonna make it memorable in your mind.
Right.
Because if you can't make it memorable in your mind for you to want to follow God, you're not gonna do it. You gotta make it in a way that you're gonna learn it and you're gonna follow Him. So, John the Baptist himself was such a crucial part of the New Testament in the way everything with Jesus, that how it worked. God has His plans, and it shows between John the Baptist and Jesus how they were actually born, and how the angels came down and prepared the parents actually for this. Shows you that God has a plan for everything.
Yeah.
He has a plan for what's going on right now. We just don't know yet. He has not actually come to my bedroom yet and told me. But hopefully someday soon he'll come and say, hey, here's the game plan.
Right.
You go left, I go right, Devin going down the middle, and we're going to do this. No. Anyways.
Flank him from the left.
So for this week, in
comment section.
In your comment section, for our comment section, one is, I want to know who in the Bible that you know of that would be like maybe one of your favorite stories in the Bible about somebody in the Bible. They do not have to be any specific person. Like if you have something that you liked about Abraham or David or John, Simon, any of the disciples, Jesus, whoever it is, if there's like a favorite part of your Bible that, or an important part of your, I'd say an important part of the Bible that really caught your attention and got you into a learning thing, and I want to know about that and care about that. And with that being said, I want to know what helps you learn the Bible the best.
For mine's gonna be a two-part. I want to know when you read the Bible, and kind of like what we did a little bit this episode is, in the Bible there's a ton of stories. What do you think would be funny? Like, what can you come up with that would just kind of be like, that would be funny if this happened? And my second one is, I want to know what you learned this episode. Because I know me personally, I learned more than I expected to this episode. I didn't know too much about John the Baptist, but I knew some of it, but I learned a lot more than I thought I was going to.
Well, a lot of people don't know John the Baptist. A lot of people only know the part about John the Baptist of when he baptized Jesus.
Right.
And they don't know what he did beforehand or what happened, what led up to him baptizing Jesus.
Right.
And a lot of people don't understand or don't know what happened to him after he baptized Jesus. He died a very long, miserable death.
Oh, I'm sure.
A lot of torture and a lot of pain before he was actually executed. But leading up, a lot of people don't realize that, when he was going big and he baptizing all these people, a lot of people actually thought he was the Messiah.
Yeah.
And a lot of people followed him thinking he was the Messiah. And they thought that right to his death, until after his death he didn't rise. 3 days later, they're like, oh, man, we followed the wrong guy. We should have gone this way.
Anyone know if Jesus is still alive?
Where did Jesus go? What town is he in now? But that's, a lot of people really thought he was the Messiah. And it's not in the Bible, but I was reading on another thing about ancient Israel and all that there was actually a group of people that was trying to create their own religion after John the Baptist. It just never fully took off. So it was a short-lived religion. But they had their own religion as if he was the Messiah.
Right.
And they're writing their own stuff as if he was the Messiah.
That's crazy.
But with that being said, hope you all have a great week.